studios. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
I spoke personally with President Rouhani of Iran earlier this fall. Secretary Kerry has met multiple times with Iran's foreign minister, and we have pursued intensive diplomacy, bilaterally with the Iranians and together with our P5+1 partners, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Russia, and China, as well as the European Union. Today, that diplomacy opened up a new path toward a world that is more secure, a future in which we can verify that Iran's nuclear program is peaceful and that it cannot build a nuclear weapon. While today's announcement is just a first step, it achieves a great deal. For the first time in nearly a decade, we have halted the progress of the Iranian nuclear program.
Says he. Welcome aboard, everyone. Steve Malzberg kicking off a short week, Thanksgiving week, but a busy week nonetheless. This was Saturday night. We heard that there was going to be a 10:15 presidential announcement, and of course it didn't happen until 10:35 in true Obama fashion. Anyway, an agreement signed, an agreement reached. Joining us now to talk about this, what I believe and many others believe to be a disaster on all levels, is Rich Lowry, columnist, editor at the National Review, and author of Lincoln Unbound. Hey, Rich.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to talk to you again. Appreciate you coming on. All right, so I haven't heard anybody outside of the Ayatollah and the president of Iran and Obama's administration speak positive of this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a very good trade, to say the least. And the one piece of good news you can take from this is it was a sign that the sanctions were really biting, something that some of us were skeptical of, but the Iranians wouldn't even want to go along with the charade unless they kind of felt compelled to. So it would seem to me the most obvious play would have been just to keep the sanctions on until you get some real concessions from the Iranians and get them to cease their program. This is just a pause where you lift some of the sanctions in a way that's likely to lead to a loss of momentum on that front, and the Iranians are now in a position where they can continue with the relaxed sanctions and kind of string us along.
Yeah, and by the way, the reports today are that $8 billion in Iranian assets have been unfrozen by the United States, so that speaks to your point. Now, the foreign minister of Iran gets on national TV and says that in two places in the agreement, specifically, it says that we can continue to enrich uranium. It is our right. And then Kerry gets on the George Stephanopoulos show and says, no, it doesn't. So, I mean, that's not a minor sticking point. That's a major, major portion of this whole deal. And here already, not even 24 hours after the agreement is signed, they disagree on the most important part of the agreement.
Yeah, and Kerry is being very legalistic there. I mean, there's nothing that says in the agreement in bright, blinking lights, the Iranians can continue to enrich. But the fact is, they can continue to enrich. It doesn't stop there enriching uranium to this kind of lower level, and they'll keep doing that and keep spinning their centrifuges and take that as an implicit concession that they have a right to do it. And the fact is, we're very likely going down a path here where the Iranians will get a bomb or get very close to having a bomb, and our policy will be what the president has denied it's going to be for so long, which is trying to contain a nuclear Iran.
Right, absolutely. Now, when it comes to Israel, Israel, Saudi Arabia have reportedly been talking, and Israel reportedly has gone to the Saudi bases. But there's also been talk that behind the scenes, the United States has threatened to, I'll use the word sabotage, any attempt by Israel or Saudi Arabia or anybody else who's ticked off about this in the Gulf to take their own action.
Yeah, well, it puts Israel in a very tough spot because now it would really appear to be the international spoiler crossing its main patron, the United States, if it were going to take action in these circumstances. So I find it hard to believe that they will, at least in the next 6 months. But you can understand why they're furious and why the Arab states are furious. As someone was saying on TV today, I think Joe Scarborough actually, that this is a sign the president does deserve his Peace Prize because he's gotten the Arabs and the Israelis to finally agree on something, on what a disaster his policy is.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, yeah, the great uniter finally united somebody, right? The Israelis and the Saudis. Go figure that. Now, Rich, we're talking to Rich Lowry, editor of National Review, also columnist there, and author of Lincoln Unbound, great book that has been out for about a month or so. We had Rich on when it came out. How much of this is a diversion to Obamacare? See, the reports are Associated Press reporting today that these talks have been going on behind the scenes for a year. So I don't know how much of it, maybe the timing is a diversion, but what do you think?
I don't think it's a diversion. I think it's something he really desperately wanted to do from the very beginning. You go back to that debate with Hillary where he said he wanted to have direct talks with all our most bitter enemies and adversaries, Iran and Chavez and all the rest of them. So this is something that is really close to his core, that he believes is good foreign policy. You know, he believes the United States and its kind of assertiveness around the globe has been the problem in the world and why we're so hated. So he wants to extend a hand. And again, I don't think he fears an Iranian bomb the way some other folks do, and it's another classic kind of misdirection. We learned from the healthcare debate that this administration really runs on bad faith and is afraid to admit what its real goals are. And in this case, it ultimately is fine with accepting an Iranian bomb, but just can't say that out loud.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, domestically, he's out in San Francisco today pushing immigration reform. And by the way, reminding everybody that he got Osama bin Laden. Swear to God, just before I came on. By the way, I got bin Laden, so he's really digging deep. But yesterday in Seattle at a fundraiser, he called the Republicans an impediment to success on his part, his agenda. Now he's pushing immigration reform. But you know what? He won't get immigration reform. Put it this way. Whether he gets it in the Congress or not, he'll get it because he'll just order whatever he wants.
Yeah. Now, there's some limits to how far he can go on that. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. And, at one point, a couple of months ago, this is why Marco Rubio is saying he was promoting the Gang of Eight bill because he thought President Obama would just oppose it by executive order. I opposed the bill and think that's a pretty rotten justification for it, but it gives you an idea of where this administration is coming from. I doubt we're going to see anything big on immigration, but for those of us who oppose it, we have to keep banging away. And, nothing, he clearly, wants to pivot to jobs or pivot to immigration reform or pivot to something besides the health care law, but that's really impossible. I mean, the health care law is just too gargantuan an issue with too many real-world effects on millions of people out there, and the president can talk about whatever he wants, but if your plan's getting canceled or your premiums are going up, you're not going to want to change the topic.
And one more, the nuclear option, which took place, of course, last week. The frightening part is that these left-wing judges, radical left-wing judges in many cases, will be on that bench or the various courts for 40 years. And Obama's legacy, radical as it is, will live on long after he's out of the White House.
Yeah, and there's a particular focus on the D.C. circuit, which the Obama administration was claiming was desperately overworked, so was desperately in need of his new appointments.
Which it's not, of course.
Which it isn't, and it has basically a 4-4 balance, and he wants to tip it his way because that's the circuit that's going to hear a lot of these challenges to his regulatory maneuvers and his executive actions. So it's more important to pack that court than any other in the country, and I think that was probably the most important factor behind the nuclear option.
Rich, great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks for having me. You too.
Take care. Rich Lowry, ladies and gentlemen, columnist and, more importantly, editor at the National Review here on the Steve Malzberg Show. His book, Lincoln Unbound. When we come back, I want to play some sound bites for you. I want you to hear the contradiction between the Iranian foreign minister and John Kerry. And still ahead in this hour, we'll have Mark Halperin, who is going to talk. He's, of course, the co-author of Double Down, Game Change 2012, MSNBC, and Time Magazine. Michael Barone will be here later in the show. Caroline Glick, Ralph Peters, David Horowitz, Doug Schoen, Richard Grinnell, Bill Kristol. Is that enough to satisfy your political want? I hope so. We're coming back. Steve Malzberg Show right here on Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare. Obamacare. President Obama's massive healthcare law is taking effect this year. With over 15,000 pages of regulations, few even know what it means. Now, the Obamacare Survival Guide by Nick Tate gives you the shocking facts about this law. It's a step-by-step guide on how you can protect yourself. Already a New York Times bestseller, every American needs to get the Obamacare Survival Guide and find out about the new taxes, hidden fees, fines, Medicare changes, business rules, and why doctor shortages are likely. Donald Trump says the Obamacare Survival Guide is a must-read for anyone worried about getting good health care for themselves or their employees. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's at bookstores, or get our special offer at Obamacare311.com and you'll save $15. Go now to Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Meet John and Nancy. Like many people, John and Nancy have spent their whole lives working hard, saving their money and investing wisely, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But the reality is, today's world is not the same as it was. John and Nancy's stocks have taken them on a serious roller coaster ride, and it's all but destroyed their retirement funds. Their house is not even close to being worth what they paid, and to boot, their middle-class paychecks no longer cover their costs. All that hard work and smart investing has gotten them nowhere. In fact, they are no longer thinking about when they will retire, they're wondering if they'll retire. Then one day, John and Nancy heard about a man named Tom Hutchison, a veteran of Wall Street for over 2 decades. Tom noticed that the wealthy invested differently than normal people, and their methods seemed to be a secret they didn't want to share. So Tom left his job, compiled the strategies, and published them in the controversial book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. John and Nancy immediately picked up a copy, began investing, and never looked back. Thanks to Powerful Secrets, John and Nancy now have investments that pay up to 20% a year. They learned about unique tax-advantaged investments, and their favorite chapter revealed a strategy that anyone can use to turn $50,000 into $1 million. Now, John and Nancy have control of their financial future in this new reality, and they have peace of mind about their investments that they never had before. Best of all, they are back on track to a secure retirement. To get your free copy of the book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns, simply visit www.myfinancialage.org.
Larry works on the construction site when he's not held up with constipation. Mary sits all day at a desk, which does little to relieve gas and bloating. You can't schedule abdominal discomfort, but you can help alleviate it with Back2Pro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Back2Pro is the fiber probiotic supplement that comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. It includes the most essential ingredients necessary to help support your healthy digestive and immune function. Experience the results. Learn how you can receive a 30-day supply of Back2Pro. Just visit Back2Pro.com/offer. All you cover is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Do something about your digestive health now. Get your 30-day supply at Back2Pro.com/offer. That's BACTIPRO.com/offer. Limited time only. Back2Pro.com/offer.
Get off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
We believe that the current agreement, the current plan of action, as we call it, in 2 distinct places, has a very clear reference to the fact that Iranian enrichment program will continue and will be a part of any agreement, now and in the future.
All right, so there you have it as we welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show, ladies and gentlemen. That was the Foreign Minister of Iran, Mohammad Javad Zarif. And there he is saying, you know, as I mentioned to Rich Lowry, that Iran has the right to enrich uranium going forward. And, of course, John Kerry in Cut 14 was asked about this by George Stephanopoulos. Here's how that went.
No, there is no right to enrich. We do not recognize a right to enrich. It is clear in the NPT, in the Non-Proliferation Treaty, it's very, very clear that there is no right to enrich.
All right, so there you go. There you go. Oh, we're supposed to have confidence in this crew. Yeah, lots of confidence in this crew. Now, the Senate, Democrat and Republican alike, Eliot Engel. Eliot Engel, if ever there was a partisan Democrat, it's Eliot Engel. However, he is strong on the Middle East, even though he's gone along with the so-called peace process. He was very tough against Syria. And Eliot Engel from the Bronx, New York, congressman, Democrat, not happy with this. Now, when Eliot Engel's not happy, you know something's wrong. Senator Menendez is outraged and has been for quite some time. Let's take you back to 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, December 2nd, 2011, when the Senate passed increased sanctions on Iran, okay? Sanctions on Iran, 100 to nothing. Think about that. 100 to nothing. And you know who was unhappy? President Obama. He didn't like that. Gee, I'm shocked. Now, at the time, Senator Menendez, at a hearing, scolded administration officials, saying, well, you'll hear what he had to say. Here's Cut 21.
Let me just say, everything that you say in your testimony undermines the credibility of your opposition to this amendment. The clock is ticking. The published reports say we have about a year. Now, when are we going to start our sanctions regime robustly? 6 months before the clock has been achieved? Before they get a nuclear weapon?
And he wasn't finished. Here's Cut 22.
So I find it pretty outrageous that when the clock is ticking and when you ask us to engage in a more reasoned effort, and we produce such an effort in a bipartisan basis, that in fact you come here and say what you say, which really undermines, certainly as it relates to this member, your relationship with me for the future, because you're not going to tell me that please engage with us in an effort to find a more refined solution, and then when we do that, say you don't care for it. It would have been more honest to say we don't want any amendment whatsoever.
Right. They didn't want sanctions in the first place. Obama was against sanctions in the first place. He touts the fact and brags about the fact that they've worked, but he never wanted them in the first place. And today he's in San Francisco telling us how he got Osama bin Laden. I kid you not. I can't believe that still. He got Osama bin Laden. Anyway, folks, Barack Obama is in love with Iran. He's in love with a terrorist nation. He's in love with the terrorist nation in the world, the sponsor of Hezbollah, the sponsor of the IEDs that are killing our soldiers as we speak in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Blood on their hands. And Obama wants to shake those bloody hands because he cares more about Iran's bloody hands than he cares about Israel's hands and Saudi Arabia's hands and Jordan's hands. And when the media and the Obama administration is leading the charge, when the media and Obama tell you Israel this, Israel that, Israel doesn't like it, Israel's angry, it's not just Israel. It's Israel, it's Saudi Arabia, it's the Gulf countries. They detest Iran. They're afraid of Iran. They don't want Iran. And don't be misled. Because I heard CNN do a whole segment on how Israel's upset, and they don't know what they're talking about. Well, it's not just Israel. But, what could I tell you? So it's a problem. This is a huge, huge problem. Now, the question is, will Israel be able to act either unilaterally or with Saudi Arabia? How far will the United States go to make sure that doesn't happen? And what if the Congress, led by Senator Menendez and Eliot Engel on the Democratic side and almost every Republican and most Democrats too, I haven't heard one Democrat say this is a good thing. What if they pass more sanctions? Then what happens? Well, Iran has said if more sanctions are passed, deal is off. Well, then by all means, U.S. Senate, pass the sanctions. Do it. If Harry Reid will let you. I don't know, what Harry Reid is going to do. By the way, Time Magazine. I'm sorry, not Time Magazine, but the GQ. GQ has its least influential people of 2013 list. And for the second time in 3 years, Barack Obama's on that list. You know what they said about him? He can blame Republicans in Congress all he likes and get away with it because congressional Republicans are the worst. See, they hate Republicans, GQ, but here's what they said. But the fact remains that I have spent, this is a guy who made the list, have spent the majority of this man's presidency watching bad things happen, then hearing a thoughtful speech about how we got to make sure the bad things never happen again, and then watching as nothing gets done. Next time there's an election, he writes, I want Nate Silver to analyze the data and tell me who to vote for so I don't end up casting my ballot for a very eloquent hat stand. They called him an eloquent hat stand. Not me, because that would be racist. GQ Magazine. The least influential people of 2013 called Barack Obama a very eloquent hat stand. And I got to tell you, that's pretty good characterization, along with the way he's characterized himself. We're coming back. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, this is Dick Moore.
If you're a man over 40, your prostate could be forcing you to urinate frequently, even disrupting your sleep multiple times each night. You're not alone. Over half of men over 40 experience age-related prostate concerns. Fortunately, prominent medical doctor David Brownstein believes that aging prostate concerns are not inevitable. That's why Dr. Brownstein developed Prostate Revive, an advanced dietary supplement containing a unique blend of 15 ingredients designed to promote optimal prostate health. So men, as part of this new radio promotion, you now have the opportunity to claim your own 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, containing saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, and numerous other prostate helpers. Just cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act now, you'll also get a doctor's guide to a healthy prostate as a bonus gift. Please visit prostaterevive.com/radio for details on getting your 30-day supply of Prostate Revive and free report. That's prostaterevive.com/radio. Do something about those annoying age-related prostate concerns. Visit prostaterevive.com/radio now while supplies last.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. And as promised, making a return appearance is editor-at-large and a senior political analyst at Time, also political analyst for MSNBC and co-author of the bestseller Double Down, Game Change 2012. We say hello to Mark Halpern. Hey, Mark, how are you?
Steve, I'm great. Thanks for having me back.
That's my pleasure. Okay, let's start with, of course, the deal with Iran. The AP is reporting today that the U.S. and Iran have been secretly talking for over a year, to get to the point that we've got to yesterday and where we are today. We have the Saudis saying they're going to do what they have to do to defend themselves. Israel saying the same thing. Then reports that they've been talking. Israel's inspecting Saudi's bases. There are a lot of people who say that this deal ties Israel's hands. Is that kind of, do you think, the purpose of the deal? To put Israel on the defensive, back on their heels, so that they wouldn't bomb Iran, or do you think that Obama fully expects that they might just do it anyway?
Well, look, the relationship between both Israel and the United States and between President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu are both pretty fraught, and it's hard to know always what conversations they're having that may offer a window into whether this is truly a disagreement or simply both leaders having to say what they need to say. I think there's no doubt that President Obama thinks the right way to proceed in Israel's interests is to have these secret talks and now to strike this deal as a stage to perhaps a larger deal. And there's no doubt that Prime Minister Netanyahu is much more skeptical of the Iranian government and what might happen. I think in the long run, there's so much scrutiny here that it'll be difficult for the president to do a big deal if the Israelis don't get more in sync with where he is. And the two leaders just had a long conversation in which I'm sure a lot was said in a pretty frank way. Keep in mind also there's other people in the administration with relationships with Prime Minister Netanyahu, but in the end, I don't think the Israeli government is going to do anything except what they feel is in their national security interest.
Now, let's bring it closer to home, and as it relates to this president. Of course, the Congress, we've had both sides of the aisle weighing in and not liking this deal, and they're threatening to go ahead with further sanctions on Iran. Let's put aside what that means for the treaty, but what does that mean for the president? I mean, he's got the people now not trusting him. He's got, Obamacare out there. Many said this was a distraction. We'll get to Obamacare in a second. Of course, they took over the Senate, the Democrats did. But here you have a president now who, is tanking in the polls, and even his own party in the Senate and the Congress is saying this deal stunk.
Well, any second-term president, two things are true. One is they struggle to keep their poll numbers up to the extent people perceive them as a lame duck. And the other is they often turn to international relations, national security to try to get things done because of their diminished influence with the Congress. This president has had an extraordinarily rough political year. John Hamm and I in Double Down make pretty clear part of the reason for that is he didn't run with a very specific second-term agenda. He just ran to annihilate Mitt Romney. And he alienated a lot of people, not just in the Republican Party, but a lot of Democrats in Congress. It's going to be harder and harder for the president to even keep Democrats in line on this deal, on health care, on other things as the midterms approach, because I think the Democrats don't trust that the president has their political interests, their political future at heart, and that's going to make it tough for him to get things done, even in the foreign policy realm in areas like this, where Democrats and Republicans feel so strongly about the issue of Israel and Iran, and where they do have some tools at their disposal, such as passing additional sanctions.
We're talking to Mark Halperin, senior political analyst for Time Magazine and for MSNBC here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Of course, he is the author of Double Down, Game Change 2012, bestseller, along with John Hammond, who we referred to there. Let me ask you this. Did the media know, do you think, did you know that President Obama was lying through his teeth for 3 years when he said, if you like it, you could keep it?
I group myself into the statement I'm about to make. I think it's clear that at the time of the passage of the Affordable Care Act and in the context of the presidential campaign, the press did nothing like an adequate job in fly-specking and scrutinizing the whole law, not just the provisions that have already become controversial and about which the president was misleading in the context of a campaign and governance, but other aspects of the laws to come. And I would hope that as we chronicle what's going on now with the political controversy over the law and scrutiny of the president's past statements on some issues, that we all learn the lesson from that and recognize any government program, but certainly one of this size and this grandeur, is incumbent upon the press to do a lot of scrutiny so the public can make an informed decision. Part of the issue, I've said this elsewhere and received some criticism about it, part of the issue was Governor Romney didn't make health care a big issue in the campaign because he had his own political problems. And so often in the context of a campaign, what gets scrutinized is what one side or the other puts forward. But there's no doubt that even without Governor Romney putting health care front and center, the press should have done a much better job. And that would have been in the president's interest, really, and in liberals' interest, because a law that has no scrutiny in real time is not going to get corrected, and now they're dealing with the scrutiny that's coming belatedly, and it's really setting back their attempts to make the law a practical reality.
But I don't get it, because I mean, with all due respect to you and the rest of the press, and I admire you for putting yourself in that mix. I think the last question I asked you in the last interview had to do with Obama's admitted drug use, and you said something to the effect, if McCain had made an issue of it, the press would have gone along. I mean, you can't convince me that he did drugs when he was in the reserve, and he was AWOL. I mean, all these things that they dig. And here you had a law that not one Republican voted for, and the media didn't think it necessary to find out what the heck was in it. And I just don't get that. You can't tell me it's not because Obama was a Democrat, and possibly on top of it an African American Democrat. Did that play a role?
Well, I've been outspoken for my career in saying that there's liberal bias in the media, and it's a big problem, and it remains a big problem. So I certainly think that played a role in some of the things you're talking about. I thought the coverage the president got in 2008 was the most favorable coverage of any presidential candidate I've ever covered, and I think his party played a role in that, as well as the historical nature of his election. I will say, though, Steve, that I did not see, and nor do I recall, massive amounts of investigative reporting by conservative news organizations about the provisions in the law that are now controversial. There was rhetorical questioning of some of the provisions, including the ones that have become controversial, but they were mostly cast as bad policy and some skepticism that they would work well. But I think there's enough conservative news outlets now that I think it is not right to exempt conservative news organizations or news organizations that are perceived to be conservative or as watchdogs of a Democratic administration. I didn't see a lot of work by those groups, in addition, for many of the same reasons, not about bias, but simply about resources and judgment about what was important.
All right. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people said that, you weren't going to be able to keep your health care, but also, I think they focused on the death panels, which will be coming. Call them what you will. Rationing is part of it. And I
agree. Huge. It's going to be a huge issue, and that's something else about which the president was not fully forthcoming and straightforward.
All right, so you believe that there will be rationing, a.k.a. death panels?
It's built into the plan. It's not like a guess or like a judgment. That's going to be part of how costs are controlled.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
but I'll say something else about that issue, which is we do need to do some of that in this country because we can't afford to spend so much on end-of-life care. A very high percentage of our health care spending is for a very small number of people at the last stages of their life. I'm not saying the system shouldn't allow that, but there's too much cost there. Judgments have to be made. We have the society.
Made by who, Mark? Mark, made by who? The government?
By individuals.
But it's not going to be made by individuals if you say it's included in the health care.
It's not now. It's not now for many people who have insurance. Their insurance companies make those decisions.
But it's very rare that they. In other words, if someone needs a bypass, the insurance company doesn't say put him in a hospice or give him a pill like Tom Daschle told me that he would do. I mean,
sometimes people run up against caps and costs with their insurance that make it impractical to get certain kind of coverage. But don't draw me into a false argument here about what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, as a society, we need to have this discussion in an honest and straightforward way because we can't afford every instance that people would like to have.
And has the president been forthcoming that we need to have that argument? No,
he was not, and Democrats were not when the law passed. But I'll say again, there should have been more scrutiny by all the press, including the conservative press, of the specifics of this. I'm not saying there was none, but there's going to be a lot of journalism done across the board on this issue coming up, just as there has been now on the issue of whether people with individual plans could keep them. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny. We should start now. It should have started a while ago, but it needs to start now in a serious and substantive way with investigative reporting and explanatory journalism rather than waiting until the crisis is upon us, because the law is the law, and we're going to have a discussion as a country about what kind of health care we can afford, particularly at the end of life when a lot of expensive medicine is often done. That as a society we'll have to decide, do we really want to spend that money?
All right, I got you. Let's move on to the nuclear option. Nothing to do with Iran, but we're talking about the Senate. I sat here Friday and I played Barack Obama, Harry Reid, Joe Biden, railing about how valuable the filibuster is, how our founders, meant it to be that way, how it shouldn't be like the Senate. Biden, how they're going to break the rule to change the rule, and how he's praised that if his party takes back the Senate ever, this was in Obama, no president's ever faced anything like this, and this is for the good of the country. It doesn't stop this, which not to, which parts of laws to enforce, which parts of laws to change without Congress involved. Nobody's.
They're flipping on the issue is pretty obvious in terms of the macro of fidelity to the importance of the filibuster versus doing what they've done. One thing is what the Republican Party's done on these judicial nominees for the D.C. court it's not completely unprecedented, but it is an attempt to stymie the president's ability to remake that important court in a way that is unusual, and I could argue is in some ways unprecedented. And I think it is not. You can't say it's hypocrisy if they say the circumstances have changed and they've changed their view on it based on what the Republicans did. And I think what the Republicans have done is quite striking. It's not wholly unprecedented. The other thing is I'm not a big proponent. I'm a big proponent of majority rules, and I understand the rights of the minority sometimes has to be an issue. But I don't think the way the filibuster has become so routine, and the way that it is used and other things are used to gum up the way get in the way of Washington functioning. I think this is another thing being done in a partisan way, which both sides have done over the last few years, that it's going to make it more difficult for Washington to work well. But I'm not all that exercised by the change itself.
Really? So you have no problem with the Congress, with the Senate being like the House? But
it's not going to be about the House about all things. But I do have a problem with one party saying, when we're in the White House, we're going to aggressively remake the judiciary, and the other party not having that same prerogative.
All right. Well, listen, Mark, always a pleasure to talk to you. Interesting stuff. We didn't have a chance to get to Obama making GQ's least influential people of 2013. We'll save that for another time. Best of luck. Continued success with Double Down, Game Change 2012. I'm holding it up, folks. And we'll speak to you soon, I hope. Thank you, Mark.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Contrary to what the experts may say, achy joints do not have to be a normal part of aging. Holistic doctor David Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/ all you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint discomfort and flexibility. Learn how you can try it for 30 days at limbexjoint.com/special. That's limbexjoint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. With Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
To get your free copy of the book,
Get off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks. So one of the first people I happened to see at Restoration Weekend, now 2 weekends ago, was our friend Michael Barone, senior political analyst, the Washington Examiner, and author of Shaping Our Nation, How Surges of Migration Transformed America and Its Politics. Hello, Michael.
Hey, that's good to see you, Steve. No wonder you ran into me. You're hanging around the bar all day.
Right, that's me and you, right. To talk to you today. Let's talk a little bit about Obamacare. You know, I just had, interestingly enough, Mark Halpern on, and we were talking about how the media covered Obamacare, and did they know that it was a lie when he was saying, in Obamacare, it is part of Obamacare. And he said, we need to start reporting on it and have a conversation about it. I almost fell off the chair.
Well, Mark Halpern a number of times has made confessions against interest about the conduct of the press, and I think he's spot on about that. I confess that I have not read the 2,000 or whatever pages, the number of pages it is in the Obamacare legislation, and basically the people who have read the whole thing are basically paid $600 an hour to lobby people in Washington. Certainly just about none of the members of Congress that voted for it read it. And, yeah, there are death panels. That IBAP operation, IBAP, that's supposed to limit treatments that people can get. Well, that sounds like could be a death panel. So, you know, Sarah Palin, as she was gazing out over the water at Russia.
From her house. From her house,
had a pretty clear idea of what was going on.
Oh, boy. All right, so, Michael, you wrote a great piece that I'm reading from. That's it's not the website. Today, the administration says for most people, whatever that means, the website will be working by November 30th. But it's not the website. It's what they find if the website ever does work. It's the catastrophe that is Obamacare.
Well, that's right. You've got, you know, the policies that are baked into it are policies that require an awful lot of people to spend an awful lot more money for insurance that they don't have an awful lot of desire for or any desire for. You've got the young subsidizing the old. Now, I'm old enough to remember when liberals believed that there's an argument for that, and we have it to some extent in our tax code, and you can argue for and against it. Obamacare redistributes income from the young, people who have negative net worth. They don't have more in the bank and financial instruments and housing debt than they do in debts. You know, credit card debt, higher education debt, and so forth. They got negative net worth, and it transfers it to people who are age 55 to 64. Average net worth of somebody in the 55 to 64 age group, the latest data I've seen is $884,000. The mean net worth of some. So consequently, there's something a little bit perverse about that. The other thing is that the law and the regulations issued thereunder in 2010, a long time ago, have required that insurance cover lots and lots and lots and lots of things, which many insurance policies don't. It's not clear that that is really insurance. You know, you buy insurance. Fire insurance, life insurance.
Right, based on what you need and what you feel you need and want. And by the way,
you buy to protect yourself against unusual, unlikely, and unwelcome events. You don't insure your automobile for oil changes. You insure your automobile in case it gets totaled.
Right, but Michael, you and I need maternity coverage. I mean, absolutely. You and I need maternity insurance. Now, by the way, Gallup poll out today, 69% of respondents say that their personal health insurance is excellent or good.
Well, that's the insurance that they have.
That they have, right?
Yeah, and this administration's idea of insurance is the kind of health insurance that covers your oil change.
Yeah.
That covers routine medical care, which is of the sort that people ordinarily need and ordinarily get. If you look at the Oregon health care study, the state of Oregon for a couple of years had a lottery to allocate Medicaid funds, and some people won the lottery and they got to get Medicaid, and other people lost the lottery and they didn't get to keep it. And they did a study. This is a randomized group because it's selected by lottery, among populations that
We
are...
only got 30 seconds, Michael, so yeah. So,
and the answer is the people without Medicaid got as much health care as the people with it, and the health care outcomes were as good.
Crazy, just crazy. All right, listen, we'll have you back, obviously, and talk about how this is all going to affect the races in 2014 going forward. Have a great Thanksgiving, my friend.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you. Michael Barone, ladies and gentlemen, for chief political, actually I should say senior political analyst, Washington Examiner, and the book is Shaping Our Nation, How Surges of Migration Transformed America and Its Politics. Hour number 2 coming up, Israel and the Iran agreement on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurity311.com. At SocialSecurity311.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurity311.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says this website is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurity311.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurity311.com. SocialSecurity311.com.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. The world continues to react today to news of a landmark nuclear deal hashed out over the weekend between Iran and other global powers. The deal represents a historic breakthrough in the decades-long nuclear standoff with Iran. But U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has already been forced to defend the deal as bipartisan concern erupted over the terms of the 6-month agreement.
We will now be able to have greater inspection, greater knowledge, greater restraint, and that will expand the amount of time it would take for them to break out and create a nuclear weapon.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is among those most concerned about the agreement. Here's what he had to say.
It's a historic mistake.
Netanyahu and others say the agreement, which will give Iran $7 billion in immediate financial relief, most of that through the opening of oil sales, will still allow the country to work on its nuclear material that could potentially be used for a bomb. That despite the fact that the agreement also requires Iran to destroy its current stockpile of weapons-grade uranium and will open up all of its facilities to inspectors daily. And President Obama's approval rating continues to plunge now to historic lows. According to a recent CBS News poll, Obama's approval rating has sunk to just 37%. The troubled rollout of Obamacare is cited as the main reason for the drop. Meanwhile, the president left D.C. and flew to some fundraising events out on the West Coast, but ticket sales to those public events have been so sluggish that organizers have been forced to slash ticket prices. Never a good sign there. And Russian President Vladimir Putin headed to Rome to meet with Pope Francis on Monday. The historic meeting comes only 4 years after full diplomatic ties were reestablished between Russia and the Holy See. Syria is expected to be the main topic of conversation. The two parties are allied on a non-military solution to the conflict in the region. Many are hopeful that the pair can also overlook historic differences. And investigators release a long-awaited report on the Sandy Hook shooting nearly 1 year after the massacre at the elementary school. The summary provides some of the first official answers to questions about the history of gunman Adam Lanza and the police response to the shooting. The report does not include, though, the full evidence file from Connecticut State Police. The decision to withhold that information which is believed to be thousands of pages of evidence, has stirred some new criticism about the secrecy surrounding the investigation. And coming up next, an exclusive interview with Donald Trump. Hear what the Apprentice star would do to Martin Bashir in light of his controversial comments about Sarah Palin and slavery. Plus, it could be one of the messiest travel days on one of the busiest travel days of the year. A look ahead at a major storm that could impact your Thanksgiving travel plans.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
Larry works on the construction site when he's not held up with constipation. Mary sits all day at a desk, which does little to relieve gas and bloating. You can't schedule abdominal discomfort, but you can help alleviate it with Bactipro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Bactipro is the fiber probiotic supplement that comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. It includes the most essential ingredients necessary to help support your healthy digestive and immune function. Experience the results. Learn how you can receive a 30-day supply of Bactipro. Just visit Bactipro.com/offer. All you cover is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Do something about your digestive health now. Get your 30-day supply at Bactipro.com/offer. That's BACTIPRO.com/offer. Limited time only. Bactipro.com/offer.
And welcome back. A potent storm that's already halted air traffic in Texas is threatening to do the same at some of the nation's busiest airports just as travelers head home for the Thanksgiving holiday. The storm is set to bring heavy snow to sections of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast regions. It has already forced American Airlines to cancel nearly 1,000 flights at its Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas hub. And Donald Trump holds nothing back during an exclusive interview with Newsmax TV, saying that if he were in charge of MSNBC, he would tell host Martin Bashir that he is fired. Trump's comments come amid Bashir's incendiary remarks about Sarah Palin and slavery.
Well, he's a sleazebag. Everybody knows it. And, you know, he's a lowlife. And that's the kind of thing he would say. He should be fired.
Of course, Trump's call to fire Bashir is significant because he is one of NBC's biggest stars. NBC and MSNBC, of course, are owned by the same parent company. And for more exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax TV and Newsmax.com. I'm John Bachman.
4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
So Israel is not bound by this agreement. We cannot and will not allow a regime that calls for the destruction of Israel to obtain the means to achieve this goal. We will not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapons capability.
All right, folks, welcome back. Steve Malzberg Show, hour number 2. Benjamin Netanyahu responding to the deal signed last night, or I guess it was Saturday, actually. Joining us now is our friend Caroline Glick, Deputy Managing Editor, Jerusalem Post, also Senior Middle East with the Center for Security Policy and Senior Middle East Fellow. And you could read her at carolineglick.com. Hello, Caroline. How are you?
Great to be on your show, Steve.
Well, thank you very much. It was good seeing you down at Restoration Weekend. It was a great event with David Horowitz and company. But let's talk about this. Your reaction to what we've seen.
This is really just a heinous act of aggression by the United States of America against its allies in the Middle East and against its own national security. Iran has pledged to destroy the United States. It's developing military bases throughout Central and South America for that explicit purpose. And Obama just approved a deal that all but guarantees that Iran will acquire nuclear weapons, and did so at Israel's expense, specifically Israel's expense, because his aim is to try to protect Iran from an Israeli military strike in order to preserve Iran's nuclear program against Israel. This is just a stunning act of betrayal by the United States government against U.S. allies in the Middle East.
How much truth is there to, the man who was elected to be the great uniter and has been nothing but the great divider, reportedly has managed to unite, at least to some extent, Israel and Saudi Arabia and possibly some other Gulf states together against Iran? Well,
crises bring clarity, and Israel and Saudi Arabia and the other Sunni Arab states are existentially threatened by an Iranian nuclear weapon, because Iran is out not only to destroy the Jews, but also to exert hegemony over the entire Islamic world, and their chief competitors in that sphere are the Saudis. Chances are that, again, I read reports that Israel's been to Saudi Arabia to inspect their, in conjunction with Saudi Arabia, might do something. Look, the same report that you're citing also cited the fact that the United States threatened Israel and Saudi Arabia that the mentor of Iran's nuclear weapons program and will seek to interdict or otherwise interfere with any attempted Israeli, Saudi, or other party attack on Iran's nuclear installations. So that, this is just a stunning reversal. It's hard to underline just how shocking American behavior is in this score, that they're uniting the Western world against Israel and against the Sunni Arab world and siding with the chief sponsor of terrorism in the world against themselves and against their own allies. It's really a stunning act of betrayal by Obama.
Now, yesterday on the Sunday shows, John Kerry had this to say. Well, why don't we start with Javad Zarif, the Mohammed Javad Zarif, the foreign minister of Iran. This will be cut 16, Will, talking about the right to enrich uranium. Here's cut 16.
We believe that the current agreement, the current plan of action, as we call it, in two distinct places, has a very clear reference to the fact that Iranian enrichment program will continue and will be a part of any agreement, now and in the future.
And then, of course, in cut 14, you had John Kerry asked about that by George Stephanopoulos on ABC, and here's what he said.
No, there is no right to enrich. We do not recognize a right to enrich. It is clear in the NPT, in the Non-Proliferation Treaty, it's very, very clear that there is no right to enrich.
All right, so there you go. Right off the bat, they signed the agreement, and each side has a different take on a very important part of the agreement.
No, I don't think that there's any contest here. John Kerry is lying, and the Iranian is telling the truth, because there are two places in the agreement that effectively recognize Iran's right to enrich uranium in contravention of 6 U.S.-sponsored, binding UN Security Council resolutions, which means that the United States and its partners are actually acting unlawfully when they signed this agreement with Iran. It's against the law that they themselves established with binding Security Council resolutions barring Iran from enriching uranium. The Iranians are right, because the agreement says that they can continue enriching uranium, something that they've been doing unlawfully and continue to do unlawfully. And it also says that they'll agree to the enrichment in the final agreement. And so there are two places in that agreement that say that Iran can enrich uranium. And what Kerry said is just lawyerly gobbledygook. I mean, the fact that the NPT does not provide for a right to enrich uranium has no bearing whatsoever on what he just signed with, again, the foreign minister of the leading state sponsor of terrorism, who has more American blood on his hands than any other regime on the face of the planet.
Yeah, that's the other issue here, is that even if they worked out a deal, which they did not, and they've capitulated, obviously, and no one's happy with this except Obama and Kerry here in the United States. And Iran, yeah. But you haven't addressed anything else. They're holding Americans in prison, including a Christian pastor who people have been, fighting for his release or urging his release. They say that came up in the talks, but Iran didn't do anything about it. And, of course, the terrorism. And they're killing our soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan as we speak. And none of that is addressed. It's insane.
Well, it's treacherous. It's not insane. I mean, this has clearly been and really I think that we have to understand that the Obama administration has been playing this like they're the good guys, and the Jews in America who support Israel and congressmen who support Israel are being led by an evil regime, which is not Iran, it's Israel. Because Israel, they claim, is a warmonger who's trying to push the United States into an unnecessary war, and anybody who agrees with Israel is inherently treacherous, is a traitor. So this is what their line has been, and what's been interesting about the anti-Semitic line that they've been pushing. I mean, this is clearly bigoted, anti-Jewish line, is that they have systematically ignored the fact that Israel is far from alone in its opposition to what the administration has done. Again, as we stated at the outset, the entire Sunni Arab world fears Iran, hates Iran, is scared out of their pants by the fact that the United States has just given the green light to Iran to become a nuclear power.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One final question for you, Caroline Glick, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. The Congress, both Democrats and Republicans alike, have said they're going to go ahead with more sanctions. And Iran said if there are any more sanctions, then the deal's off. Is that a possibility in your mind that Congress will save this?
It's a requirement. It's a requirement, and not even just for this agreement. I think that what Obama's done, if Israel and the Saudis and whomever else has even just a modicum of remaining sanity, band together in defiance of the U.S. government and attacks and Iran's nuclear installations and prevents Iran from becoming a nuclear power, then that won't have anything to do with what Congress does or does not do. What Congress needs to do is defy the will of this administration, not because of this deal, but because what this deal does is destroys American credibility internationally. And the only way that a successor president from Obama will be able to in any way rebuild American credibility overseas is if Congress acts today and shows that what Obama is doing is not a reflection of the will of the American people. That is a signal that Congress has to send. Otherwise, the United States will never be able to reemerge from this as a credible world power that people will want to seek alliance.
Caroline, we appreciate it. Caroline Glick, reader at CarolineGlick.com. We'll speak to you soon.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Wow, you look great. Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of your diet and exercise program. Metabio is the premium nutritional supplement, power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. When used as part of a healthy lifestyle, each component is formulated to help you reach your goals and maintain your optimal weight and wellness. It supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. Now, learn how you can try a 30-day supply of Metabio. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/special. Act now and also receive instant access to our downloadable special report, a practical guide to healthy weight management. Try it now at themetabio.com/special. That's the METABIO.com/special. While supplies last. themetabio.com/special.
Meet John and Nancy. Like many people, John and Nancy have spent their whole lives working hard, saving their money and investing wisely, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But the reality is, today's world is not the same as it was. John and Nancy's stocks have taken them on a serious roller coaster ride, and it's all but destroyed their retirement funds. Their house is not even close to being worth what they paid, and to boot, their middle-class paychecks no longer cover their costs. All that hard work and smart investing has gotten them nowhere. In fact, they are no longer thinking about when they will retire, they're wondering if they'll retire. Then one day, John and Nancy heard about a man named Tom Hutchison, a veteran of Wall Street for over 2 decades. Tom noticed that the wealthy invested differently than normal people, and their methods seemed to be a secret they didn't want to share. So Tom left his job, compiled the strategies, and published them in the controversial book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. John and Nancy immediately picked up a copy, began investing, and never looked back. Thanks to Powerful Secrets, John and Nancy now have investments that pay up to 20% a year. They learned about unique tax-advantaged investments, and their favorite chapter revealed a strategy that anyone can use to turn $50,000 into $1 million. Now, John and Nancy have control of their financial future in this new reality, and they have peace of mind about their investments that they never had before. Best of all, they are back on track to a secure retirement. To get your free copy of the book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns, simply visit www.myfinancialage.org.
Tonight we are a country awakened to danger and called to defend freedom.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
You cannot sit there and pretend that you're just going to get the thing you want while they continue to move towards the program that they've been chasing. We've actually succeeded through the sanctions that Congress put in place to be able to get to a point where we're locking in knowledgeably what their current level is and forcing them to go backwards. And while we go through these next 6 months, we will be negotiating the dismantling. We will be negotiating the limitations. But you can't always start where you want to wind up.
All right, there you go. John Kerry defending the agreement reached with Iran on Saturday. And joining us now to talk about that and more is our friend Ralph Peters, Fox News strategic analyst and also author of Hell or Richmond, his latest great Civil War novel. And Colonel, welcome as always.
Oh, great to speak with you, Steve. It sounded like Secretary Kerry was having a little hissy fit there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, look, he can say anything he wants to say, but he's right about one thing. The sanctions were working. But now we've thrown it away.
Now we've thrown it away, $8 billion unfrozen today.
Right. Now, of course, not all the sanctions have been lifted, but Steve, let me tell you how this is going to work. The Iranians were on the ropes. We were going to tighten sanctions. Their economy was in the tank. And that's why they came to talk. And They're just much, much better negotiators. Kerry and Obama were so thrilled that the Iranians would talk and might make a deal with us that they got nothing. I mean, the Iranians got everything. We got nothing. Now, this whole thing about, it halts their nuclear program. No, it doesn't. It gives them time, 6 months, to consolidate and get ready for the next sprint forward. It does not have any intrusive inspections. They're going to put a couple of cameras at a couple of sites, and we won't be able to check the sites. We'll just be able to check the cameras once a day, I think it is. No surprise inspections. They do not stop enriching uranium. They stop enriching it to 20%, but they still can keep enriching it to 5%, and it's a short jump. They do not have to dismantle a single centrifuge, not one. And contrary to some press reports, they do not have to stop work on the Arak, that's A-R-A-K, Arak, plutonium-oriented reactor. So what exactly did we get? I'll tell you what we got. We got the little thrill up our leg, as Chris Matthews would put it, of sitting down and talking to the Iranians, and they agreed to let us give them $8 billion. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, from this president,
I'm being sarcastic, but I'm furious.
Yeah, well, well, you should be, and so should every American. I think Caroline Glick joined us prior to you, and she said that America sold out. Let's see if I have the quote here. Well, basically that they sold out not only Israel and allies in the Middle East, but also our own national security. We sold out.
Yeah, and the amazing thing is President Obama is so oblivious that his statement. I don't know if you've had time to read it or hear it, but he was saying that he's done everything he set out to do in foreign policy. Oh, really? He screwed up Iraq terribly, screwed up Afghanistan, screwed up Egypt, screwed up Libya, screwed up Syria, and now he's going to fix Iran. Well, good luck, brother. But let me be fair. I mean, obviously, all of us, Americans, Israelis, everyone, if Iran would agree to peacefully dismantle and terminate its nuclear program, we'd all like that. We'd all like a deal that ended the nuclear threat looming from Iran. Of course we would. That's much better than war. But you can't reward people just for agreeing to talk to you. I mean, this is preposterous. And what's going to happen now is Congress may step in and even add some sanctions. They might do it, and God bless them if they do. But the Europeans are going to start loosening. They've been trying to duck out on this problem for a long time, and even the French are going to start dealing with Iran. But even more immediately, all the powers around Iran, the Chinese and the Indians, they are going to read this deal and this partial loosening of sanctions as license to start sneaking back in, get the jump on the other deals, get the oil deals going. I mean, the sanction regime, I can't guarantee it's going to collapse, but there's a good chance it's now going to collapse. And then what incentive do the Iraqis have to negotiate? When you have your enemy on the ropes, you don't give him time to recover. You don't pay him to recover. You pound him until he's either knocked out on the mat or he quits.
Well, Ralph, not to interrupt, but we talk about the failures and we mock it, justifiably so. Obama touting his foreign policy achievements as everything he wanted to accomplish, and I don't think he's lying. I think everything that's happened is what he wanted to accomplish. He stuck it to Israel for whatever reason. He stuck it to Saudi Arabia. He strengthened Iran. He's tried to put the Muslim Brotherhood in power in Egypt. We're fighting alongside Al Qaeda. I mean, I don't think this is all by accident.
Well, I never blame a conspiracy for anything that can be explained by incompetence. but seriously, I have no problem with sticking it to Saudi Arabia. But Israel's a key here on moral and practical grounds. This administration, Obama himself, to me, he regards Israel as a strategic liability. He regards it as a political albatross, and I think he regards it as a personal nuisance. He clearly has no sympathy from Israel. He comes out of that Reverend Wright, Southside Chicago, Jews are evil landlords school of thought. And it's just sad because, when you look at Jewish Americans, they led the civil rights movement. They were there. They were the ones being killed. They've done so much to pioneer social justice in this country. Israel is the bravest state on earth. Sorry, that is it. I mean, It's incredible what they've built in Israel. I mean, I make no bones about being an Israel supporter. Israel is an outpost of our civilization surrounded by barbarism.
Well, you are a tremendous supporter of Israel, and we've spoken about it on the air, and I heard you speak when you and I were fortunate enough to, I was fortunate enough to be in the same venue as you, and there's no doubt about that. Ralph, we're out of time. I appreciate it. Have a great Thanksgiving, my friend, and we'll speak soon.
Great, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph Peters, and get the book, folks. If you have any interest in the Civil War, Ralph Peters is a brilliant, award-winning writer, and Hell or Richmond is a fantastic Civil War story and novel, and you really need to get a hold of it. Of course, watch him on Fox News, where he's strategic analyst. We're coming back, folks, and when we do, David Horowitz will join us right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. We'll talk about Restoration Weekend and Iran. Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show. No. This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and I am so privileged to welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show once again our friend who is the founder and president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and he's founder of Front Page Magazine, frontpagemag.com, and also author of a brilliant new series of books, The Black Book of the American Left, and I have volumes 1 and 2 in my left hand. I don't know why it's in my left hand. Maybe it's because that's where David Horowitz started. Anyway, we welcome in David. Hello, David.
Thank you, Steve.
And it was great seeing you down, and great to be at Restoration Weekend. So many wonderful people, so many wonderful people that spoke and were in panels, and to hear Ted Cruz and Ben Carson give keynote addresses, and I was fortunate enough to interview each one for Newsmax. So just a wonderful event. Congratulations.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for coming.
Well, it was my pleasure. All right, before we get to the books, and we will have time for that, your take on the what some are calling a catastrophic deal with Iran.
It is catastrophic. It's worse. It's worse than Munich because, after Chamberlain sold the Czechs down the river to Hitler, although they suffered and many of them died, they weren't obliterated. Whereas the Obama-Kerry deal with Iran jeopardizes the lives of the entire Jewish people in Israel. Israel is like the size of New Jersey. A nuclear bomb or two could just wipe out the population. And the Iranians, of course, they're worse than the Nazis because Hitler hid the final solution, his plan to exterminate the Jews from the German people, whereas the Ahmadinejad and the Iranian mullahs shouted from the... Now, this isn't the first time this Kerry has committed treason and sold out America and its allies. But when he did it before, he was just a soldier.
You're talking about when he came back from Vietnam, obviously.
That's right, and he not only betrayed America and the Vietnamese who were fighting the communists, but he betrayed the people he fought alongside of, his comrades, his buddies, claiming that they committed atrocities, which they did not do. He's a wretched human being, John Kerry, and the fact that he's Secretary of State is just reflective of what's happened to this country.
I was just going to say, isn't it a reflection of the man who appointed him? It's just who he is.
The movement, which is now in control of the Democratic Party, which is what this book, The Black Book of the American Left, is about. Barack Obama, my parents were card-carrying members of the Communist Party, and I became a leader of the New Left, which was just an offshoot of, was formed by children of communists who wanted to get away from the stigma of Stalin and revive the communist movement. That's what the New Left was about. Barack Obama, Valerie Jarrett, who's behind this Iranian deal and is Obama's most important and closest and longest-serving advisor, and David Axelrod, who's his campaign strategist, all three of them were born into the same communist movement that I was, grew up in it, were trained in it, graduated to the neo-communist New Left, and have never left it. That's the movement that's in control of American policy now. Part of the reason that I put together this book and the ones that will follow is because, conservatives have been scratching their heads and saying, how is it possible that we got such a person in the White House? And, you know, for 20 years I was saying, don't call these people liberals. They're leftists. They hate you, and they hate this country, and they want to destroy it, and they will, if given the chance. I think that conservatives have waked up in the last 5 years.
Well, you know, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was good.
This is not even Bill Clinton. You know, Clinton lied about his sex life. This guy lies about absolutely everything and every day because he has all these covered agendas that he can't reveal openly, which are to destroy the American military, to destroy the American economy, to create a system through Obamacare, which thankfully is blowing up as we speak, in which he would control every American. This wasn't about covering the uninsured. I mean, even now it's obvious, and all the commentators are saying that it'll still leave 30 million people uninsured. Hopefully it'll just collapse of its own weight. But that's never what it was about. It wasn't about affordable health care. It's going to be more expensive for everybody now. It wasn't about you can keep your plan. You can't. This is socialism. This is where the government tells you what you can and what you can't do. I mean, they have pediatric dental care as part of everybody's policy, even if you don't have children.
And maternity coverage, David.
And maternity coverage, and on.
For you and me, yeah.
It's not about providing better, cheaper health care. It's about controlling every American, having access not only to their health information, but the ability to deny you health, operations that you may need. Just the ability to control you. Everything that this book, the Black Book of the American Left, when you read it, you will see the mentality of these people and why they're after your freedom. That's what it's all about.
And by the way,
when they run up these debts, what that means is you're already an indentured servant, everybody listening to this, because you're working probably, if you add up all the taxes, 1 out of every 2 days, half the year you're working for the government instead of for yourself and your family and your agendas. You're working for the government. Every time the government runs up another $1 trillion in debt, they're adding weeks, months to your indentured servitude. That's what it's about. And until in the end they just want you to be working for them.
We're talking to David Horowitz, founder and president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And, of course, the man who has written so many books, but he has a new series. It's called The Black Book of the American Left. Volume 1, My Life in Times. Volume 2, I have in my hand, is Progressives. David, just interesting, one more note on Obamacare. Mark Halpern was on with us earlier, and he admitted, in the context of our conversation with media coverage, how the media never got involved in scrutinizing Obamacare, and he admitted that. But he also admitted that there are death panels. Death panels are written into Obamacare. He actually said that.
Well, of course.
Well, I know that, but he's on he's one of the leftist media people, and he actually said Obama needs to start talking about this now. So that's the next shoe to drop.
He's not going to talk about it.
Of course not. Of course not.
They all do.
Yeah, well, that goes back. One other thing about, so on the right after the anniversary of JFK's death, there's so much talk about JFK by the Democrats. JFK would not know who these Democrats are. There's so much talk that Reagan wouldn't fit in with the Republican Party, which I don't believe. But JFK would not come anywhere near being the kind of Democrat that represents the Democratic Party these days.
Well, I've been saying for years, if you want to measure how far left the Democratic Party has gone, you just have to realize that John F. Kennedy had politics identical to Ronald Reagan's. He was a hawk on defense. He had the biggest military buildup in peacetime history. He was a militant anti-communist. He was for a capital gains tax cut and a balanced budget. That's who John F. Kennedy was. Today, he'd be regarded as a right-wing, Republican conservative.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, absolutely. All right, what do you want people to know about the series, the Black Book of the American Left? What do you want them to know most of all about why you wrote it and what they're going to gain from it?
Well, I wrote it because people, and this is really for people on the right. This is the unvarnished. I didn't coat this so that
it's the hard truth. Yeah,
that's right. But conservatives, this is to show you that these people are not liberals, and that their roots are in the communist left. This is who they are. This is what they came out of. You have to. One of the things, I wrote this over 15, 20 years, engaged in the battles, but knowing who the enemy was, knowing who they were, not being fooled for a second by the covering they put on it. When I was a kid, Stalin was alive, and the slogan of the Communist Party was peace, jobs, and democracy. Well, that's still the slogan of the Communists, was peace, equality, and democracy now. They hide their agendas. That's why I think Obama, as an individual, has obviously spent his life lying about himself and everything he stands for. That's the way he operates. But every leftist lies of necessity because they can't tell you what their agendas are because they're so discredited. They can't tell you, that they want to basically control everybody's life and tell you what to do, right down to the last big gulp.
Right, and
that's their agenda. Their agenda is anti-freedom. It's to take away your freedom. This book, in going over it, editing it, I had forgotten many of the battles that were fought along the way. Again, when people, suddenly woke up and said, "Oh my Lord, look who's in the White House," it's because they weren't paying enough attention to what was going on over the last 20 years. And this book is really about that.
Yeah.
It talks about my leaving the left, what the left I left was about, the attacks that liberals made on me, so-called liberals, for leaving the left. Some of it is about the Black Panther Party. There's a chapter called Black Murdering, which is about how the Panthers murdered my friend, which is what really expelled me from the left.
And David, as you put in towards the beginning of Volume 1, that this is also about, as you mentioned, and we talked about Barack Obama wanting to fundamentally change America. He meant it. He's doing it, and unfortunately, it's continuing. I wish you all the best with the book, and thank you for coming on. And it was great to see you, and we'll speak to you soon.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. David Horowitz, ladies and gentlemen. The collected conservative writings of David Horowitz, the Black Book of the American Left. Must reading to understand what is going on in this country, what is happening before our very eyes from a man who was on the other side, who's come over, who's, come back, and now he's a tattletale, okay? And you got to get it. David Horowitz, folks. When we come back, we're coming back. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
If you're a man over 40, your prostate could be forcing you to urinate frequently, even disrupting your sleep multiple times each night. You're not alone. Over half of men over 40 experience age-related prostate concerns. Fortunately, prominent medical doctor David Brownstein believes that aging prostate concerns are not inevitable. That's why Dr. Brownstein developed Prostate Revive, an advanced dietary supplement containing a unique blend of 15 ingredients designed to promote optimal prostate health. So men, as part of this new radio promotion, you now have the opportunity to claim your own 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, containing saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, and numerous other prostate helpers. Just cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act now, you'll also get a doctor's guide to a healthy prostate as a bonus gift. Please visit prostaterevive.com/radio for details on getting your 30-day supply of Prostate Revive and free report. That's prostaterevive.com/radio. Do something about those annoying age-related prostate concerns. Visit prostaterevive.com/radio now while supplies last.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Wow, you look great. Thanks. I've lost some weight. What's your secret weapon? Actually, I do in fact have one. Really?
If you're looking for help in your weight loss efforts, remember this name, Metabio. It just may be the edge you've been looking for. Metabio is the nutritional weight loss breakthrough power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. Metabio supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. It helps maintain your optimal weight and wellness when used as part of a healthy lifestyle. Now you can receive a 30-day supply of Metabio. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/offer for complete details. Act now and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Practical Guide to Healthy Weight Management. Learn how you can try Metabio for 30 days at themetabio.com/offer. That's the metabio.com/offer. Hurry, only while supplies last at themetabio.com/offer.
Meet John and Nancy. They've spent their lives working hard and saving money, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But unfortunately, all that hard work and smart investing has gotten them nowhere. Then one day, John and Nancy picked up a free copy of Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. This book revealed 24 little-known investments that put them back on track to a happy and secure retirement. Get your free copy of Powerful Secrets at myfinancialage.org.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
Just last week, Sarah Palin said, "There is no Ronald Reagan on the scene today. If he was, that's who I would put my faith in." That's quite a hold on someone. After all, when Reagan was elected, Sarah Palin was barely 16, probably pregnant, but still in 3rd grade.
It's what they do. It's who they are, and they can not only can't they help themselves, they don't care. And the idiots in the audience applaud. Now, I don't care what you say. By the way, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I don't care what you say. There's no way he would say anything like that about Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi. It just wouldn't be said. She's not a woman to them. She's dirt to them. She's filth to them. And since Bill Maher is basically, his whole shtick is filth, except when he wants to be taken seriously. You see, Bill Maher leads this double life. Bill Maher not only gets a pass for trash and garbage like that, but then when he sits down and he wants to be a guest on someone's show and he gives his political opinion, then he's taken seriously. But whenever he wants to digress to this garbage, then he gets a pass because he's a comedian. You see, he's an entertainer. So he could do whatever he wants. And that's why, well, I shouldn't say that. Martin Bashir is no entertainer. And nothing happened to him. And what he said was worse. Right? David Letterman actually did apologize at one point when he said something horrific about Sarah Palin's younger daughter allegedly shacking up in the Yankee dugout with A-Rod several years ago, if you remember that one. They're all sick. They're all disrespectful, sick, twisted, and nuts. They are. How else do you describe it? How else do you describe it? It's Palin derangement syndrome, just like Bush derangement syndrome. There's no cure for either of them. And there's especially no cure when, now, let's just say I didn't like what Michelle Obama said one day, okay? And I made a similar statement to what Bashir said about Palin. Are you kidding? Not only would I be fired, but I'd have to go into hiding. They'd probably put a bounty on me like they did George Zimmerman. All right? But Bashir says it. Oh, who cares? He apologized. No biggie. And now this doesn't even get on anybody's radar. What he just said about Sarah Palin. That's nothing compared to the viciousness when they've gone after her youngest son. Remember, it wasn't hers. It was her daughter's son. He's mentally, whatever they called him. I don't even know what they called him. He has Down syndrome, I believe. Just disgusting people. Vulgar, vile, vicious, disgusting, sad people. But you see, it's the right that's mean, and the right that's divisive, and it's the right that's hateful. Really, really. Could have fooled me. Now, I'll give you one more. We'll save. Speaking of twisted, and in my opinion, sick and demented in every way, shape, or form. He is so vicious and sick and over the top, yet he's on MTV. He speaks at schools. He's a mainstreamer, and that would be Savage, Dan Savage, who to me is disgusting, not because he's gay, but because of the vile, disgusting things he says and gets away with and applauded for. They love him. But we'll save that one for later. Also with Bill Maher, by the way, I had to put so many beeps. I didn't put it, but we had to put so many beeps in the soundbite. I hope you can make it out. But this one involves. It's actually pretty funny. Yeah, when he's funny, I'll tell him he's funny. This is Bill Maher talking about Afghanistan. And, Obama's out there saying today that he ended 2 wars. Well, he ended the war in Iraq, which was over, by the way. He's ending the war in Afghanistan, which was supposed to end. Nothing to do with him. But now he didn't tell you he's extending. We're going to stay there for another 8 years. Huh? But here's Maher's take on that. Cut 23. Apparently,
we are not leaving the region anytime soon. Barry, what happened? I thought we were getting out of Afghanistan. Well, the news this week is we struck a security deal to keep troops there till 2024. I know. But Obama said he made a promise to the Afghans. He said, if you like the war you have, you can keep it. Period.
All right, so that one, that one is... that one's pretty good. I also like when he talks about radical Islam. He's not afraid to talk about radical Islam. But he's so twisted and vicious in the things he said over the years, about Republicans, women, especially, Sarah Palin and kids, and you just, again, the double standard. I would never do that. I would never go after Nancy Pelosi's family or that she was pregnant in the third grade at 16 years old or whatever. I would never say that. But the point is, if I did, I'd suffer consequences. They say that and worse, and people laugh. You tell me what's wrong with the picture that we're all living within. All right, when we come back, folks, we're going to be joined by Doug Schoen, then Richard Grinnell, and Bill Crystal on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
A hot new book by Craig Smith argues that the greenback is now at high risk thanks to our spendthrift politicians. Mark Twain said, "The truth is stranger than fiction." The same is true of the Great Debasement, which began a century ago with the creation of the Federal Reserve and income tax. The result, today's dollar retains just 2 cents of its original buying power. Yes, progressive politicians have engineered the largest wealth confiscation in history, creating in essence a fourth branch of government. Learn what must be done to preserve your money if the dollar crashes. The good news is Swiss America is offering the Great Debasement, a $20 value free of charge for this special radio offer.
800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. Call Swiss America now for a free DVD. 800-818-3967.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. The world continues to react today to news of a landmark nuclear deal hashed out over the weekend between Iran and other global powers. The deal represents a historic breakthrough in the decades-long nuclear standoff with Iran. But U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has already been forced to defend the deal as bipartisan concern erupted over the terms of the 6-month agreement.
We will now be able to have greater inspection, greater knowledge, greater restraint, and that will expand the amount of time it would take for them to break out and create a nuclear weapon.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is among those most concerned about the agreement. Here's what he had to say.
It's a historic mistake.
Netanyahu and others say the agreement, which will give Iran $7 billion in immediate financial relief, most of that through the opening of oil sales, will still allow the country to work on its nuclear material that could potentially be used for a bomb. That despite the fact that the agreement also requires Iran to destroy its current stockpile of weapons-grade uranium and will open up all of its facilities to inspectors daily. And President Obama's approval rating continues to plunge now to historic lows. According to a recent CBS News poll, Obama's approval rating has sunk to just 37%. The troubled rollout of Obamacare is cited as the main reason for the drop. Meanwhile, the president left D.C. and flew to some fundraising events out on the West Coast, but ticket sales to those public events have been so sluggish that organizers have been forced to slash ticket prices. Never a good sign there. And Russian President Vladimir Putin headed to Rome to meet with Pope Francis on Monday. The historic meeting comes only 4 years after full diplomatic ties were reestablished between Russia and the Holy See. Syria is expected to be the main topic of conversation. The two parties are allied on a non-military solution to the conflict in the region. Many are hopeful that the pair can also overlook historic differences between the Vatican and the Russian Orthodox Church and focus on this common point of connection. And investigators released a long-awaited report on the Sandy Hook shooting nearly 1 year after the massacre at the elementary school. The summary provides some of the first official answers to questions about the history of gunman Adam Lanza and the police response to the shooting. The report does not include, though, the full evidence file from Connecticut State Police. The decision to withhold that information which is believed to be thousands of pages of evidence, has stirred some new criticism about the secrecy surrounding the investigation. And coming up next, an exclusive interview with Donald Trump. Hear what the Apprentice star would do to Martin Bashir in light of his controversial comments about Sarah Palin and slavery. Plus, it could be one of the messiest travel days on one of the busiest travel days of the year. A look ahead at a major storm that could impact your Thanksgiving travel plans.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309.
Constipation, gas, bloating, most people suffer through. But now there's a simple solution for occasional digestive problems called Bactipro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Bactipro is the fiber probiotic formula that supports healthy digestive and immune health. And it comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. Bactipro contains 6 powerful strains of beneficial probiotic bacteria, dietary fiber, and bacteria-nourishing prebiotics, plus powerful antioxidants. Now you can receive a 30-day supply of Bactipro. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit Bactipro.com/special. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Improve your digestive health now. Learn how you can receive your 30-day supply at Bactipro.com/special. That's BACTIPRO.com/special. Bactipro.com/special. Larry works on the construction site when he's not held up with constipation. Mary sits all day at a desk, which does little to relieve gas and bloating. You can't schedule abdominal discomfort, but you can help alleviate it with Bactipro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Bactipro is the fiber probiotic supplement that comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. It includes the most essential ingredients necessary to help support your healthy digestive and immune function. Experience the results. Learn how you can receive a 30-day supply of Bactipro. Just visit Bactipro.com/offer. All you cover is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Do something about your digestive health now. Get your 30-day supply at Bactipro.com/offer. That's BACTIPRO.com/offer. Limited time only. Bactipro.com/offer.
And welcome back. A potent storm that's already halted air traffic in Texas is threatening to do the same at some of the nation's busiest airports just as travelers head home for the Thanksgiving holiday. The storm is set to bring heavy snow to sections of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast regions. It has already forced American Airlines to cancel nearly 1,000 flights at its Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas hub. And Donald Trump holds nothing back during an exclusive interview with Newsmax TV, saying that if he were in charge of MSNBC, he would tell host Martin Bashir that he is fired. Trump's comments come amid Bashir's incendiary remarks about Sarah Palin and slavery.
Well, he's a sleazebag. Everybody knows it. And, he's a lowlife, and that's the kind of thing he would say. He should be fired.
Of course, Trump's call to fire Bashir is significant because he is one of NBC's biggest stars. NBC and MSNBC, of course, are owned by the same parent company. And for more exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax TV and Newsmax.com. I'm John Bachman.
4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll talk to Richard Grinnell, political consultant, former U.S. spokesman at the United Nations, and he will join us. He's also a Fox News contributor, I do believe. We'll be joined by Bill Kristol, founder and editor of the Weekly Standard, at the bottom of this third and final hour of the Monday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. Thanksgiving week. Who would have thunk it? Now, I know a lot of parents, you have decisions to make about yourself and about your children when it comes to getting a flu shot. There's a terrible story that we'll tell you about a little bit later on out of Utah. But first, we're joined by our friend Doug Schoen, Fox News political analyst, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Good to talk to you.
My pleasure.
Okay, your column that you wrote asking Barack Obama to delay Obamacare. First of all, what bothers me, not about your column, because that would be perceived as a good thing, but this guy has just, he would, if he wanted to, he would just delay it. And you know what? He can't delay it. It's unconstitutional to pick and choose the way he's done it with not only this law but other laws. Shouldn't he go before Congress and say, look, in a perfect world or in a normal world, we have a problem. Let's get together and think of a solution and pass a law and fix it, or amend the law and fix it. But he'll wind up dictating it like he's dictated all the other delays, no?
Well, I certainly agree that in a perfect world, even an imperfect world, Steve, you ought to call the congressional leadership in and say we got to fix the law. I think that the nuclear option was a big mistake for the Democrats in the country, and I think that the president has governed more by, as you put it, your word again was fiat, I would say, by proclamation or pronouncement. Pronouncement probably a better word. And to my way of thinking, it is unseemly and destructive to our system to not have the kind of consultation and collegial process with healthcare that I think we needed before and I think we need now.
All right, so you would like him to delay it, but delaying the inevitable, we've seen horrendous stories from people who, if they look for a new policy, once this one is gone, the prices aren't cheaper for the most part. They're more expensive with tremendous deductibles. And, I spoke to a doctor today that I know, and he said, if we join Obamacare, they don't even know what they're going to pay for procedures. So we don't even know. But we'd have to spend $40,000, $50,000 to get new computers. So the whole thing is nuts. So a delay would what would it accomplish, really?
Well, we're talking about a fix, a delay to fix, not a delay just to delay. Steve, rational people you have to use imperfect sources of information to make the best decisions possible. But the problem here is we're not making the best decisions and we're not using our common sense.
Are the Democrats married to this? I know some have run from it to an extent. Some are displeased. Bill Clinton, of course, whether he was providing a preview of what Hillary's going to do or not. But there's always a method to what they say, I believe. So, will the Democrats, as we get closer to 2014, agree with you, or will they stick to their guns like Nancy Pelosi and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and say, oh, no, we're going to run on this in 2014?
Well, I think the chance that they run on it is pretty limited, and I think the chance that the Democrats, as the election approaches and those in marginal districts and marginal states read the tea leaves, I think there's a much greater chance that they will effectively agree with me and seek revisions in the law.
What would you advise the Congress to do, Doug, or the Senate more particularly, when it comes to sanctions on Iran? Because I haven't heard from anybody outside of the Ayatollah and the president of Iran and the Obama administration that this was a good deal for anybody other than Iran. And the Senate seems full steam ahead to more sanctions, which Iran said would kill the deal. So what would you advise the Democrats in the Senate to do?
I would follow the lead of Chuck Schumer and Bob Menendez, who have made it very clear that they're unhappy with the deal and that they are skeptical and that they want to consider tougher sanctions. I think it's a bipartisan position. I think that we have basically said to Iran, you can keep your centrifuges, keep enriching uranium, and I think that this deal does very little for us and a lot for them.
In other words, if you like your nuclear program, you could keep it?
Well, you can keep it, but you might have to delay a couple of months or hide it.
All right, well, let me ask you, Doug, and we're talking to Doug Schoen here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Look, for whatever I think of the president, he is not a stupid man. He's not a dumb man. A previous guest, I think it was David Horowitz, noted earlier, or maybe it was Ralph Peters, that he was saying he's accomplished almost everything he set out to do in foreign policy. Now, I mean, look what he's done in foreign policy. He's alienated Israel. Somehow he's managed to get Saudi Arabia not to like us. We're fighting alongside Al Qaeda in Syria. He's got the Muslim Brotherhood in charge in Libya. He almost had him in charge, did for a while in Egypt, and now he's given Iran a buy on their ability to make a bomb. So why is this what he wants to do? Because obviously it's what he wants to do.
Well, look, I'm not going to go as far as you are and say that there's deliberate malevolence or malfeasance, but I will say his judgments about foreign policy, I think, have weakened America. They've alienated us from our traditional allies, and they've emboldened the Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans, and the Iranians.
Yeah, well, it's just amazing. Let me end on this humorous note, if you will. I find it humorous. The GQ magazine's least influential people of 2013. They put Barack Obama on it, and the gentleman who wrote it said he could blame Republicans in Congress all he likes and get away with it because congressional Republicans are the worst. But the fact remains that I have spent the majority of this man's presidency watching bad things happen, then hearing a thoughtful speech about how we got to make sure the bad things never happen again, and then watching as nothing gets done. Next time there's an election, he says, I want Nate Silver to analyze the data and tell me who to vote for so I don't end up casting my ballot for a very eloquent hat stand. Fair, unfair?
Well, about Nate Silver, I think he's a pretty good
No, about Barack Obama being an eloquent hat stand.
Steve, where you and I part company, I don't believe in those kind of characterizations of the president of the greatest country in the world. I disagree with President Obama fundamentally, disagree with his approach, his policies, but I'm not going to characterize him in ways that lowers an office that I hold with extraordinary reverence and very high regard.
Fair enough, my friend. Okay, Doug, we appreciate you to your time as always. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Doug Schoen, Fox News political analyst, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Yeah, so that was GQ magazine. I don't know who actually wrote it. Back in 2011, our friend Noel Shepard at Newsbusters, who wrote this story, in 2011, GQ had this to say about the president when he was the 25th entrant. What was he here? I don't know which... what entrant he was, he doesn't say. Anyway, okay, so we're cheating a bit with this one. He did order the raid that wiped Osama bin Laden off the face of the earth, but then he used that surplus of political capital to let everyone in Washington stick a boot in his blank. This is a man who should be the most... Oh, I don't have the second page. All right. Well, anyway, they didn't like him in 2011, and they don't like him in 2013. Still, you got to say 2013, I guess. Can you believe it's going to be 2014? Oh, man. Man, Will now thinks he's getting old. That's how bad it is. Will thinks he's getting old. Oh, my goodness. All right, folks. So when we come back, Richard Grinnell joins us, and we'll talk to him about the deal with Iran. And then, of course, Bill Kristol will be here, and we'll talk to him about the deal with Iran and how it affects Israel and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to do that right here. If you want to weigh in, folks, you're always free to do so at 877-NEWSMAX, 877-639-7629. And it all takes place 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurity311.com. At SocialSecurity311.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal $30,000 23 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurity311.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says this website is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurity311.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurity311.com. SocialSecurity311.com.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, and you may be forced to watch helplessly as you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, all while your home's value is eradicated. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer believes we will soon stare down a secret crisis that will rival the Great Depression. It was Wiedemer's 2005 book, America's Bubble Economy, that warned of coming meltdowns in our housing and stock markets. Washington did not heed his call, and folks on Main Street lost $50 trillion from the recession. His New York Times best-selling book, Aftershock, predicted our federal debt and dollar would be the next bubbles to burst. And now Robert Wiedemer has released a startling video with shocking evidence the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Join us at Aftershock2013.com. Aftershock2013.com.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show. No. This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. We're in the midst of trying to hook up with Richard Grinnell, who is, of course, a Fox News contributor, and he spent 8 years at the United Nations as a spokesman for and advisor to 4 U.S. ambassadors to the United Nations, and he's also a fellow at the Project to Restore America. And the 2 questions. First question I want to ask him is, how is it that this has been going on? I mean, we've been lied to right along. Again, I mean, this isn't something that just came about. This isn't something that came about from a phone call by Barack Obama, after the United Nations General Assembly, where Obama wanted to shake the president of Iran's hand, and that didn't work out, and then they decided to have talks, and this has been going on for a year, from what we understand. This has been going on for a year, these secret talks, and Obama was intensely involved, and I'm not surprised that Obama was intensely involved. Yet we have 3 Americans. We have Robert Levinson, And we have the Saeed Abdini and Amir Hekmati, who are all detained in Iran. All are Americans. And guess what? Guess what? None of them have been a part of this. Why? Before anything was done, before anything was agreed to, before we released any billions of dollars in sanctions that had been tied up, which we've already reportedly released over $8 billion. Probably we've released a lot more if they're admitting to $8 billion. Why didn't we get our 3 Americans home? Because it's Barack Obama. He doesn't operate that way. You see, it's the greater good, you see. Now, I don't even know how this would apply to the greater good, but you see, that's the philosophy. You sacrifice the 3 Americans. You don't give a darn about the 3 Americans, so you could get this deal, which I'm sure he views as more important than the lives of 3 Americans. Just like the life of a U.S. ambassador and 3 other Americans didn't mean much, apparently, to him in Benghazi. That was a video, remember? So, the whole thing is kind of nuts and sad. Very, very, very sad. 3 Americans detained in Iran. Here we are negotiating with Iran. We didn't ask them to stop supporting Hezbollah. We didn't ask them to stop killing our own soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq as part of a deal, training the Taliban, supplying them with IEDs that are killing and maiming our men and women. The blood on the hands of the Iranians, the American blood on the hands of the Iranians is dripping off. Dripping off. The hand Obama wanted to shake is drenched in American blood. So should it shock you that he wanted to shake it? When at the same time, what has he done to our ally Israel? He's spit in their face over and over again, putting his shoe up on the desk. Remember that White House photo of the heel, the heel of Obama's foot when he was talking to Netanyahu on the phone? And that's the least of it. So, this is who our president is. This is who America and the media elected. Media helped elect him, and he was elected twice. And it's unfortunate, and it's scary, and it's sad that we have 3 Americans sitting in the most horrendous prisons in the world for doing nothing. And did they even bring these names up? Did they even effort to get them out? Or did Barack Obama not want to rock the boat with 3 measly Americans? Again, thinking about the greater good, you see. The greater good. Sound familiar? Yeah. Sounds terribly familiar. But, some people have mentioned it. It's been talked about a little bit. But, what's he going to say if he's asked about it? He'll never be asked about it. He'll never be asked about it. But if a reporter has the guts, the nerve to ask him about it, what is he going to say? Oh, yes, we tried. Oh, yes, and they're going to consider it. And, oh, yes, and we're very concerned. And, oh, yes, yeah. Baloney. You know what most, if not all, past American presidents would have done? Especially if they've been involved hands-on for a year with these creeps in Iran? Hey, you want to talk? You want to loosen the sanctions? Give us our 3 Americans back first, and then we'll talk to you. But Barack Obama doesn't operate that way. See, he sees the greater vision. He sees the forest through the trees. And just like dollars to donuts, I'm not sure I know what forest through the trees means, but I have an idea. So he looks at the bigger picture. Like I said, boils down to the greater good. And not only in foreign policy, sacrificing our 3 Americans held prisoner, not being overly concerned, apparently, about capturing who killed our U.S. ambassador. No. It's also, when it comes to health care, for instance. You, Joe, and me will have maternity coverage. We will be forced to buy it. We will have it as part of our insurance because it's all part of the greater good. See how it works? Right. That's how it works. Insane. scary that this is the United States of America in 2013 or in 013, whatever you want to call it. So I'm assuming we had trouble contacting Rich Grinnell? Okay, I should have checked my BlackBerry because he and I did confirm after our own Rich confirmed with him. Yeah, I don't know. We'll find him. We'll get him tomorrow or something. Miscommunication, live TV and radio, these things happen. But Bill Kristol will join us at the bottom of the hour and right after the next break, and we'll talk about all this kind of stuff with him because it's just so frustrating. So frustrating. But, folks, every time something happens, every time Obama does something, every time there's an event, an agreement, a law, a change, a whatever, you see how we're losing our country. You see how we have been fundamentally changed just as he promised we would be. Fundamentally changed for the worse. And as he likes to say, hasn't said it in years, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Mark my words, you ain't seen nothing yet. On the Steve Malzberg Show, Bill Kristol, the founder and editor of the Weekly Standard, is next on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Wow, you look great. Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of your diet and exercise program. Metabio is the premium nutritional supplement power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. When used as part of a healthy lifestyle, each component is formulated to help you reach your goals and maintain your optimal weight and wellness. It supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. Now, learn how you can try a 30-day supply of Metabio. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/special. Act now and also receive instant access to our downloadable special report, a practical guide to healthy weight management. Try it now at themetabio.com/special. That's the metabio.com/special. While supplies last. themetabio.com/special.
Obamacare, President Obama's massive healthcare law, is taking effect this year. With over 15,000 pages of regulations, few even know what it means. Now, the Obamacare Survival Guide by Nick Tate gives you the shocking facts about this law. It's a step-by-step guide on how you can protect yourself. Already a New York Times bestseller, every American needs to get the Obamacare Survival Guide and find out about the new taxes, hidden fees, fines, Medicare changes, business rules, and why doctor shortages are likely. Donald Trump says the Obamacare Survival Guide is a must-read for anyone worried about getting good health care for themselves or their employees. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's at bookstores, or get our special offer at Obamacare311.com and you'll save $15. Go now to Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-574-6029. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-574-6029. That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
Are payday loans ruining your life? If you have 2 or more payday loan cash advances, listen closely. You may be eligible for a program that payday loan companies don't want you to know about.
This program will get payday loan companies out of your bank account and put an end to the payday loan nightmare. Call for free information and find out if Payday Loan Support Center is right for you. Payday loan companies usually trap you into paying rates as high as 700%. We understand payday lenders' tactics. Don't let them take advantage of you anymore. All you need is 2 or more payday loans to qualify. We can help even if you're behind in collections or have bad credit.
Internet payday loans qualify for this program as well. So call 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. The call is free and the consultation is free. Don't miss out. Call for your free information on payday loan relief. 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. Again, 800-250-5084.
Meet John and Nancy. Like many people, John and Nancy have spent their whole lives working hard, saving their money and investing wisely, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But the reality is, today's world is not the same as it was. John and Nancy's stocks have taken them on a serious roller coaster ride, and it's all but destroyed their retirement funds. Their house is not even close to being worth what they paid, and to boot, their middle-class paychecks no longer cover their costs. All that hard work and smart investing has gotten them nowhere. In fact, they are no longer thinking about when they will retire, they're wondering if they'll retire. Then one day, John and Nancy heard about a man named Tom Hutchison, a veteran of Wall Street for over 2 decades. Tom noticed that the wealthy invested differently than normal people, and their methods seemed to be a secret they didn't want to share. So Tom left his job, compiled the strategies, and published them in the controversial book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. John and Nancy immediately picked up a copy, began investing, and never looked back. Thanks to Powerful Secrets, John and Nancy now have investments that pay up to 20% a year. They learned about unique tax-advantaged investments, and their favorite chapter revealed a strategy that anyone can use to turn $50,000 into $1 million. Now, John and Nancy have control of their financial future in this new reality, and they have peace of mind about their investments that they never had before. Best of all, they are back on track to a secure retirement. To get your free copy of the book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns, simply visit www.myfinancialage.org.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect, with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Contrary to what the experts may say, achy joints do not have to be a normal part of aging. Holistic doctor David Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/special and take the 30-day Healthy Joint Challenge. That's a 30-day supply of the Limbex Joint Supplement. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint discomfort and flexibility. Learn how you can try it for 30 days at limbexjoint.com/special. That's LIMBEX joint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
Obamacare. President Obama's massive health care law is taking effect this year.
Meet John and Nancy. Like many people, John and Nancy have spent their whole lives working hard, saving their money and investing wisely, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But the reality is, today's world is not the same as it was. John and Nancy stocks have taken them on a serious roller coaster ride, and it's all but destroyed their retirement funds. Their house is not even close to being worth what they paid, and to boot, their middle-class paychecks no longer cover their costs. All that hard work and smart investing has...
Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of...
I think Israel might have to act. But otherwise, there's now a marker down in a way for 6 months from now. Is Iran serious about being willing to begin to dismantle their nuclear weapons capacity or not? And I think we're going to find out not. So in a funny way, I hate to say it this way, the administration might have done us a favor by putting it all on the table, allowing us all to see what the outlines of their deal are, what are the outlines of a real deal that we can accept. It's not like we don't know anything about how to dismantle nuclear weapons programs. Libya had an actual nuclear weapons program. It was dismantled after we invaded Iraq in 2003, and they got scared that they were next. And it was shipped out of the country, and nuclear weapon materials were destroyed in Kentucky, I think it was, here in the U.S. Syria, the chemical weapons, which I don't approve of what Obama did there, letting Assad get away with it, but still to the degree he's giving up his chemical weapons program, and he's probably not giving it all up, but still actual chemical weapons production facilities are being destroyed, and actual chemical weapons are being shipped out of the country. That's what this would have to look like. And if 6 months from now, there's nothing like that, there's no destruction of facilities, there's no shipping of material out of the country, then I think we could all say, okay, President Obama, you took your best shot, you put a lot on the line and risked a lot with this deal, risked our security and Israel's security with this deal. Now can we be serious about stopping Iran from getting nuclear weapons?
We're talking to Bill Kristol, the founder and editor of the Weekly Standard, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. You know, we've been led to believe, or at least up until this point, that, Obama wanted to shake the president of Iran's hand at the UN. It didn't happen, so he called him in the car, and through that phone call, hey, let's have some talks. And boom, 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 John Kerry immediately says, oh, I think we could settle this in a few weeks. And everybody's like, what? Well, it turns out, according to many reports, they've been talking for a year. So, they've tried to put on a show here, and again, we were misled.
And what's striking to me is that they have been talking for at least many months in pretty high-level negotiations. This is the best they can do. If you're going to, in a way, I'm serious. Given how much they've invested in this, you'd think they would at least come up with a big deal where people like us might still think it was a bad deal, but at least there'd be some serious signs on the part of the Iranians that they're willing to give up something. That's what strikes me the most. If you just came down from Mars and looked at this deal, you would conclude the Iranian regime, having spent 10 years cheating, lying, and putting a heck of a lot of money and effort, and willing to risk very, pretty tough sanctions and a lot of international criticism to get the nuclear weapons program. You come down from Mars and you look at this deal and you say they're willing to sign off on a little bit of a pause in parts of their program in return for getting sanctions relief. This is still a regime that intends to get nuclear weapons. I honestly think that's the only objective conclusion you can draw, and maybe everyone will draw 6 months from now. I think President Obama, unfortunately, what happens when you get so invested in these negotiations is you just keep rationalizing, what the other partner does. And so I don't expect President Obama to draw a logical consequence. But maybe others, including Democrats, as you mentioned, will.
And of course, a token gesture, even with regard to the 3 Americans who are being held in Iran, including the U.S. pastor Saeed Abedini. I heard someone on CNN ask some administration official, did you bring it up? Oh, yes, we brought it up. And then there was silence. And Wolf Blitzer says, so? Well, obviously nothing happened and nothing's going to happen. But, we didn't even hold them to account on 3 Americans.
Totally. People say this could be, Rouhani could be like Gorbachev. But what did Reagan do with Gorbachev? Defense bills up, refusal to cut a deal at Reykjavik, and also, as you sort of suggest, pressing him on human rights issues, pressing him on dissidents. In the Iranian case, we could also, in addition to the people who they're holding, both Americans and Iranians, incidentally, we could press them on the sponsorship of terrorism, the sponsorship of the Syrian regime, and we didn't seem to have pushed on anything.
No, and that's not surprising. Let me switch gears real quick here, Bill, to Barack Obama out there today pushing for immigration reform. Is all this just trying to change the subject from Obamacare? Is that what this is all about now?
Partly, but I think he believes in all these things. And it was a reminder of why he's not, from a conservative point of view. I mean, you got to give him credit. He believes in all this stuff. He believes in Obamacare. He believes in a very liberal version of immigration reform. He believes in diplomatic deals with an Iranian regime in which they don't give up anything much. And it's really the reason we need to resist across the board, I think, here, as well as advancing our own agenda, but certainly on the domestic policy stuff. I mean, we cannot let him, in my view, get anything through Congress now. And the House of Representatives should just resist all of his efforts and, of course, move to roll back Obamacare as effectively as possible.
Yeah, but he'll rule by dictate, like he's done on so many laws and so many issues.
But that can be challenged, too, and the House should really challenge some of those things, pass legislation to overrule his executive orders, and then, really push Mitch McConnell, in my view, could do a better job, a stronger job in the Senate of trying to insist that Harry Reid let some of these things come to a vote. The House passed that. If you like it, you can keep it. Legislation. 39 Democrats in the House voted for it.
Yep.
And Harry Reid hasn't brought it up to a vote. Mitch McConnell should just say, this is unacceptable, and I'm shutting down the Senate as much as I can until you let us have a vote on some of these pieces of legislation.
Yeah, I mean, they already nuked the place. What else could they do to him?
Right.
Bill, thank you so much. Pleasure to talk to you again.
Hey, thanks, Steve. Be well.
Take care. Bill Crystal, ladies and gentlemen, founder and editor of the Weekly Standard, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Yeah, crazy stuff. Now we're gonna speak to Richard Grinnell right after the next break. But so I want to squeeze something in here that I had planned to do in the last segment. But anyway, long story short, in Utah, a mother is claiming that a flu shot is responsible for the recent death of her 19-year-old son. Chandler Webb got his shot on October 15th during a routine physical after he had decided to go on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The day after the exam, he became extremely ill, suffering from vomiting and headaches. A little more than a week later, he slipped into a coma, spent nearly a month on life support in Utah, and they underwent a variety of tests, but his doctors could not confirm what had caused the illness. Now, he was eventually taken off life support. He died early last Tuesday morning. His mother, Lori Webb, said that his direct cause of death was swelling of the brain, something she believes was the result of an adverse reaction to the influenza vaccination. She said what attacked his brain happened so quickly, within 15 hours, from one CT scan to the next, there was so much pressure and swelling in the brain that it crushed his brain stem. And a spokesman for the Utah Department of Health said that the agency is aware of his death, but they cannot verify whether or not it was caused by the flu shot. According to a report from the Salt Lake Tribune, Webb has declined an autopsy as she believes that a pending brain biopsy will reveal Chandler's cause of death. Now, there's always risks, and I'm not here to say that the flu shot caused his death. But I will say you have to be very careful as a parent. And if you're a parent, you probably know this. So I'll just tell you what I do. I'm very careful as a parent, okay? First of all, I have not taken a flu shot, as far as I know, ever. Now, I'm not saying that here to brag or to say I'm tough. I'm not tough, and I'm not bragging. I just don't believe in the flu shot. I've had doctors, nurses, and doctors' wives in the doctor's offices over the years, after the doctor says, what do you mean you're not taking your flu shot? Look at me and say, psst, psst, I don't take it. I wouldn't take it. So I don't take it. And I don't give it to my son. Now, God forbid. I hope he never pray he never catches the flu. But you gotta think long and hard. You got to be careful. Remember, all I'll say is this: vaccines are wonderful when it comes to polio and different things, and mandatory disease, whooping cough, tetanus, all that kind of stuff. But where it's voluntary, and if you don't have to, you got to weigh the risks with the benefits, and there's really no way to do that unless you're God or a great scientist. And even then, if you're a scientist, you're still just human. So do what you feel is best, but always remember, nothing is 100%. And I'm not accusing the shot of causing this guy's death, but just I take precaution is all I'm saying. All right, folks, Richard Grinnell joins us when we come back. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Meet John and Nancy. Like many people, John and Nancy have spent their whole lives working hard, saving their money and investing wisely, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But the reality is, today's world is not the same as it was. John and Nancy stocks have taken them on a serious roller coaster ride, and it's all but destroyed their retirement funds. Their house is not even close to being worth what they paid, and to boot, their middle-class paychecks no longer cover their costs. All that hard work and smart investing has gotten them nowhere. In fact, they are no longer thinking about when they will retire, they're wondering if they'll retire. Then one day, John and Nancy heard about a man named Tom Hutchison, a veteran of Wall Street for over 2 decades. Tom noticed that the wealthy invested differently than normal people, and their method seemed to be a secret they didn't want to share. So Tom left his job, compiled the strategies, and published them in the controversial book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. John and Nancy immediately picked up a copy, began investing, and never looked back. Thanks to Powerful Secrets, John and Nancy now have investments that pay up to 20% a year. They learned about unique tax-advantaged investments, and their favorite chapter revealed a strategy that anyone can use to turn $50,000 into $1 million. Now, John and Nancy have control of their financial future in this new reality, and they have peace of mind about their investments that they never had before. Best of all, they are back on track to a secure retirement. To get your free copy of the book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns, simply visit www.myfinancialage.org.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-574-6029. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-574-6029. That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
When you were younger, you probably never considered your heart health. But cardiologist Dr. Chauncey Crandall knows from experience that taking steps to care for your heart becomes more crucial as the decades pass, if you want to keep this vital organ ticking smoothly for years to come. That's why Dr. Crandall recently developed Cardio Advanced, a nutritional supplement containing 12 special ingredients, all selected to help improve and maintain your heart health and normal cholesterol levels. The flagship of this exclusive formula, esterified plant sterols, may help lower your risk of heart disease when taken as part of a diet low in cholesterol and fat. And great news! Now, you have the opportunity to try a 30-day supply of Cardio Advanced. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act right now, you'll also receive a free doctor's guide to a healthy heart as a special bonus. Please visit cardioadvanced.com/radio for complete details on claiming your 30-day bottle of Cardio Advanced and free report. That's cardioadvanced.com/radio. Life is too precious to ignore your heart health. Visit cardioadvanced.com/radio now while supplies last.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-574-6029. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call or 6029.
Get off off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, always a pleasure to welcome in our next guest, Fox News contributor, and, of course, 8 years at the United Nations as a spokesman and advisor, 4 U.S. UN ambassadors. We welcome in Richard Grinnell. Hello, sir.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Always my pleasure to have you on, sir. Thank you. Okay, so this deal, I mean, the more you see, the worse it gets. There's one analysis now says that there's another devil in the detail of how Iran's nuclear deal could allow them to have off-site reactor work. This on top of the fact that we've heard the foreign minister of Iran say, we could keep enriching uranium. It's in the agreement. And Kerry says, oh, no, you can't. I mean, this whole thing is farcical.
Yeah, and we knew that the language on whether or not Iran could continue enriching was a problem. And matter of fact, Steve, it really was one of the sticking points. The solution that the Obama administration came up with was to write language that was very nebulous, that was very vague, and it solved both of the problems. It was a language enough where the Iranians could say, we win, we get to enrich, and the Americans could say, we win, and they don't get to enrich. We're not explicitly saying it. We knew that this was going to be a problem. We wrote this language. The United States wrote and approved this language as a face-saving device. And basically what they did, and this happens in diplomacy, is when you want a solution, when you're so desperate for a solution, you write language that both sides can kind of claim victory on. The problem is that this is a very important point. Whether or not Iran gets to enrich uranium is an incredibly important point. It's not something that you act politically about. This is a negative language. It's also interesting, Steve, that this whole deal was done in Geneva outside of the auspices of the UN. And the reason why is because in 2006, when John Bolton put forward the first resolution that said Iran must stop enriching uranium, that United Nations Security Council resolution, that the first one that passed in 2006, and then 6 subsequent resolutions after that, all are perfectly clear. It says Iran must stop enriching all uranium. It says all. You get to enrich 0.
Right.
The reason why the Obama team came forward and tried to do new negotiations outside of the UN in Geneva is because the Iranians didn't like that resolution. So we decided to weaken it. So Obama being weaker than the UN is a huge problem and signal to the rest of the world.
Richard, you represented and were a spokesman and advisor to 4 great U.S. ambassadors to the United Nations. You worked under George W. Bush. And when you see what's going on now, when you look at this agreement and the context of everything else that's gone on foreign policy-wise, what do you? I mean, it's got to bother and eat at you more than it's bothering and eating at me, and it's tearing me up.
Yeah, I mean, the problem here is that the Obama administration doesn't have a strategy. Their strategy is just to do whatever George Bush didn't do. And so they very much play politics with our national security. I'm very uncomfortable when an administration official says things like, well, what else can we do? We don't want to go to war. Well, first of all, if you're the leader of the greatest country in the world and you're in charge of our national security, you actually don't say things like that. You don't turn national security into a political issue by saying, you know what, we just don't want to go to war, so we're going to take that off the table because politically our people don't want to go to war. So no matter what happens, we're not going to go to war. That's being just as political and manipulative towards war as it is to say we're going to march to war and go to war all the time. I just don't want leaders who feel like a public opinion poll is something to take when
it comes to national security.
Security.
Absolutely. Let me ask you one more, Rich. And that is 3 Americans that we know are being held, including, of course, the pastor Saeed Abedini. And you would think since these talks, and we now have been going on for maybe a year, and we didn't know about it, then they tried to orchestrate it, that it just sprung up when Obama couldn't shake the president's hand at the UN. Anyway, you think they would have released one of them, gotten something out of this. But as far as we know, those Americans are just forgotten.
Yeah, well, I work on the Amir Hekmati case, who is the U.S. Former military gentleman who is now in prison in Tehran. And the Iranians won't talk about this issue, but yet they're claiming to be a new moderate administration. Look, the simple fact is, other than Rouhani's tweets, he has not changed a single behavior in Iran. However, the United States is now rewarding them with $7 billion in cash and sanctions relief, despite the fact that they haven't moved one iota in their behavior.
And plus, of course, it's the Ayatollahs that control that country. You got to get permission from them to run. So this moderate, like you said, it's all based on, oh, look, he tweets. He must be a good guy. Hey, Rich, we'll have you back soon. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Take care. That's Rich Grinnell, ladies and gentlemen, political consultant, former U.S. spokesman at the United Nations for 4 U.S. ambassadors to that body, and Fox News contributor. All that. That's a lot to put on a business card. All right, folks, we'll do it all again tomorrow, God willing, 3 p.m. Eastern till 6 p.m. Eastern, right here, Newsmax TV and radio. Don't